Hello everybody and welcome back to the F1 2021 My Team Career Mode with me, Dan, and the Radiant Racing team for the penultimate race in the inaugural season of the My Team Career on the channel. We're in round 15 of 16, we're not doing a full season if you're only just joining us for this race, with the next race being the finale in Abu Dhabi. Still running 5th in the Drivers' Championship is Radiant Slothz. And the Radiant Racing team still in a battle with Ferrari and McLaren for 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship. It's going to go down to the wire. The Drivers' Championship is really hotting up between Verstappen, Perez, Hamilton and Bottas. Anyway, don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and comment down below who do you want to win this Drivers' Championship. We'll be monitoring all the drivers in the running in the following race. But onto the grid for today, and it's a pole position for Valtteri Bottas, and Lewis Hamilton joins him on the front row once again. Then we have Sergio Perez and Charles Leclerc in the first of the Ferraris, followed by his teammate Carlos Sainz, and then the first McLaren of Lando Norris. Pierre Gasly lines up alongside Radiant Slothz in 7th and 8th. And then it's Esteban Ocon in the first of the Alpines, followed by Verstappen with a penalty. Then we have Sebastian Vettel. He's lining up P11 with Antonio Giovinazzi P12, his best qualifying of the season. Followed by George Russell in the first Williams, alongside Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. Penalties for Daniel Ricciardo, puts in P15 alongside Kimi Raikkonen. And then behind them we have Nicholas Latifi, as per usual, with Fernando Alonso also picking up penalties. Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin line up on the penultimate row, and finally it is Yuki Tsunoda and Zhou Guanyu with penalties. Well, 2 races to go, Australia and Abu Dhabi. Let's see who can come out on top. Max Verstappen's got a lot of work to do this race if he's going to stay in this championship. So is Sergio Perez, getting past the 2 Mercedes who have made great improvements, as we see Radiant Slothz jumping up the inside of Lando Norris and Pierre Gasly, running incredibly wide onto the grass at turn 2 as they come down towards turn 3. Norris on the outside, Radiant Slothz on the inside, and he's going to keep the position up to P6 with him. Started P8, off to a good start. Lando Norris loses a position, I believe there, up ahead. Valtteri Bottas maintains the lead over teammate Lewis Hamilton, who now leads the World Championship. Max Verstappen currently sitting, I believe, P3, just ahead of teammate Sergio Perez. Starts in P10 due to that engine penalty he received for this Grand Prix. Reliability really starting to show its ugly side as we come into the left-right section, and Radiant Slothz absolutely destroys a bollard in spectacular fashion. The sort of thing we want to see on the channel. As they come around towards the end of the lap, Charles Leclerc looking in the mirror at Radiant Slothz, thinking, my God, that was a great wipe out of that bollard. I wish that was me. As they come around onto the final straight, we'll go on board the restart. And it was a great start for Radiant Slothz against Lando Norris there. He sails past him. As the McLaren picks up some speed and holds the outside, Radiant Slothz just has to yield a bit, given that there's 2 cars on his left-hand side. Has to be a little bit careful not to take too much tarmac. You can already see, actually, Lando Norris, slight damage to the front right of his front wing. But Radiant Slothz easily ahead. As we go on board with Pierre Gasly, who also got a good start against the McLaren. He draws alongside on the run into turn 1. There's Radiant Slothz over there on the right-hand side, and everything just gets compacted up. Radiant Slothz squeezes Norris, who in turn squeezes Gasly, who takes presumably a bit of minor damage as well, and then gets a great view of the action ahead of him into turn 3. Great stuff there from the McLaren and the Radiant Racing car as we rejoin them on lap 3. We're going to get the first stint of DRS. Radiant Slothz also going to get some DRS here from the Ferrari ahead of him. Ferrari trying to battle for P3 in the championship against McLaren and Radiant Racing, of course. Well, I say Radiant Racing, just Radiant Slothz. Zhou Guanyu still yet to break into the single digits, or even just P10 and pick up a point. Hopefully next season. It's not looking likely he's going to do very much before the end of this season anyway. with just one race left. They come powering down. So it's Pierre Gasly, for those wondering, must have taken some damage on the opening lap. He has come in and he's dropped off the bottom of the leaderboard into the shadow realm, down into P21 or 22. You see, Radiant Slothz stopped making a huge amount of progress there, gaining on the Ferrari. Max Verstappen takes a new position up into P8, but is, well, quite clearly disappearing into the distance from these three. He's not going to get any DRS, that's for sure, and that's not going to be helping his championship campaign. As we come down to this recently changed section of track, of course, the Australian Grand Prix took place a couple of weeks ago. Very hard to see where the actual old chicane was, as they've walled it off. As Radiant Slothz comes around, he's going to get DRS on Charles Leclerc, who is dropping back from teammate Carlos Sainz. Up ahead, the leaders still within a second, the top three. So anyone's game there. Sergio Perez putting the lead work in for Red Bull, as the two teams are extremely close on points at the moment. And Max Verstappen will be looking to try and retake the lead of the Drivers' Championship, although as things stand at the moment is not looking very good, as Radiant Slothz tucks himself under the gearbox of Charles Leclerc. He gets another stint of DRS. There's no way the Ferrari can defend it from this. Radiant Slothz goes around the outside. Charles Leclerc takes a dive up the inside, but just carries too much speed. Has to get on the brakes partway through the corner. Gives Radiant Slothz the edge as they came in to that chicane. As we rejoin Radiant Slothz in pursuit of another man in red, Carlos Sainz, the teammate of Charles Leclerc, providing the other Ferrari with a nice tow down the back straight. Lando Norris still yet to pass Charles Leclerc, who'll probably get past him on this lap in the DRS zone, depending on how well Charles Leclerc can get his car up to top speed. And talking of top speed, Radiant Slothz appears to have a slightly higher top speed than Carlos Sainz right now. Coming into turn one, right up behind him once again. It's going to be an easy overtake, perhaps, for him. Yep, and Charles Leclerc's going to have a look as well, but Radiant Slothz cuts him up into the braking zone. Hooks it round the outside of Carlos Sainz, and Sainz blocks his teammate, who may have been faster. Elijah just sneezed. Radiant Slothz powers his way away from the two Ferraris. Lando Norris still stuck behind as we ride on board for the move on Carlos Sainz. We'll just see how close, almost touching, is the car of Radiant Slothz to the back of the Ferrari. Goes to the outside. Charles, not really intentionally defending from Charles Leclerc. It just so happened that Charles Leclerc was right there where Radiant Slothz positioned his car, as we go on board with Carlos Sainz. Watching the move, it seemed like he could have taken a lot more of the outside of the racing line there through that first part of the chicane, and decided no, to cut to the inside instead.
Box, box, box.
Radiant Slothz gets the call to come in. No, it takes a very narrow line through there, which ultimately just cost him time. And Radiant Slothz comes in. Let's see if anyone follows. Charles Leclerc's in. And looking down the board, it looks as though they are the only two to have come in so far. Daniel Ricciardo started in P15, so the only overtake he's managed to make so far is on Pierre Gasly, now on Radiant Slothz and Charles Leclerc, who have come into the pits. So all of Daniel Ricciardo's overtakes have been on cars in the pit lane. As Radiant Slothz tries to get out ahead of George Russell, it's just not worked. The Williams with a massive lock-up as he went through turn one. Radiant Slothz does not get DRS on the Williams, which will be a slippery car to get past, given the straight line speed of the Mercedes power unit. The Williams, though, in general, still a very slow car. especially in comparison to this Radiant Racing car, which is right up the back of George Russell right now. Further down the road, Nicholas Latifi, for seemingly the first time in history, is ahead of George Russell. As Radiant Slothz slots one down the inside there. And clears the Williams. Charles Leclerc, just looking in the background, actually stuck behind the other Radiant Racing car of Zhou Guanyu. Still appears to be stuck there. He's probably going to get past this time with the DRS. But the amount of time that has cost him is fairly significant. Same for Radiant Slothz as well, being stuck behind Russell for that long. It's not the sort of track you want to be stuck behind another car at unless you're going down a DRS zone. But Lewis Hamilton, second place man as things stand, has come in. As is Verstappen, who doesn't seem to have been running in the top 5 most of the race. Where does Radiant Slothz position himself? That's 7 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. The Mercedes cars over these final few races have made incredible improvements. Somehow able to just leave the field just in their dust behind them. They just leave everyone behind. As Radiant Slothz comes down the pit straight, he's going to retake 6th position as he challenges for 5th against Lando Norris there. Gets past Norris as he exits the pit lane, gets some temperatures into the tyres, and that puts him net P4 as Sebastian Vettel is yet to pit. He's currently only 8 seconds ahead of Hamilton. If you're watching the timing board right now, is closing incredibly quickly. As we rejoin, Vettel has come in, but Norris and incredibly Max Verstappen are closing in on what is about to become P4 as Sergio Perez is passed. And they go through turn 1. Presumably, it's DRS time for Lando Norris. To the outside he goes. A repeat of lap 1 perhaps. Radiant Slothz up the inside, pushes Norris wide. Still damage to the front wing of that McLaren, not helping matters. Carlos Sainz, for some reason, dropping all the way down the order. Oh, and he's just DNF'd. That's going to be very costly. And the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc no longer in the points. Also just lost the position to Daniel Ricciardo. They're not fighting for any points at all as Radiant Slothz slaloms down out of the final corner. Where's Norris? You can't see him in the right-hand mirror. He's defending. He was on the left-hand side. There's Carlos Sainz in the background. That surely is the end of Ferrari's third-place championship campaign. Norris and Radiant Slothz now take the reins and battle it out. As Verstappen comes in and smashes into the side of Lando Norris. There was a piece of car coming off of one of them there. Verstappen did get through ahead of the Brit. He appears to be holding up the McLaren now, which likely means that Verstappen took damage. If that is the case, that will be the end of his championship campaign as we go on board. Sees Radiant Slothz go incredibly defensive. Norris gets pushed wide, and Verstappen just goes ploughing into the wheel. And look how slow he's going through these corners. He has absolutely taken damage. Let's go Bob and Norris. Presumably won't notice a thing. Massive overspeed compared to the Radiant Racing car, but just does not get a good track position. There we go. Yep, there's the missing end plate. And let's just watch here. Verstappen. Oh, look how slow he's going. And look at Radiant Slothz up ahead. Verstappen blocks Norris on 2 occasions. That is a very horrible corner to try and overtake at against the AI. But not that matters too much. Radiant Slothz has been caught by Norris with just over a lap to go. Max Verstappen all the way down in 16th out of the points. That is his championship pretty much over at this point. Lewis Hamilton will extend his lead by 7 points over teammate Valtteri Bottas. Sergio Perez only going to get 15 points. That is going to be a major blow to Red Bull. This is the other major battle though. Radiant Slothz and Lando Norris determining the battle for third in the Constructors' Championship with their respective teams. Daniel Ricciardo still not able to make his way into the top 10. He is behind Fernando Alonso though, so it is possible on the final lap that he will pick something up. But will Lando Norris be able to take P4 off Radiant Slothz? He's going to try the same move again. Backs out of it early, but Radiant Slothz runs wide and Lando Norris is up the inside. He's going to take to the outside now as they come around into the second part of the chicane. And Radiant Slothz gets his car ahead. Norris seems to have backed out of it. Perhaps giving up now after all of these attempts. In the background, amazingly, Sebastian Vettel in the points in P6 ahead of an Alpine, an Alfa Romeo, another Aston Martin, and then Fernando Alonso, who seems to be running into the points for most of this season, or at least qualifying there. As we see several front marker cars, Pierre Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, all out of the top 10. Mick Schumacher up to 17th place. That'll be great for the Haas team. Not sure if that's going to improve his championship position, but it's certainly not going to score him any points, but it might do him some good. As we watch Radiant Slothz and Lando Norris, they come around the final corner. It's all over for McLaren. They are not going to get those extra points. Radiant Slothz crosses the line for the Australian Grand Prix as we go on board for the parade lap in. Driver of the day, who's it going to go to? It's Fernando Alonso. I can't remember where he started, but he probably did a good race. He did finish in the points fight. But it's all about Mercedes as we go into the final race of the season. Lewis Hamilton leading the championship by quite some margin. Now we'll see in a moment who's exactly where in the standings. And of course, we'll also see the very spicy result for the Constructors' Championship as we go into the final race. Stay tuned for the next few minutes to see exactly what's about to go down in Abu Dhabi tomorrow at 4 PM GMT. The video will be live, the finale will be broadcast. But for now, Lewis Hamilton, teammate Valtteri Bottas, and Sergio Perez from the rival team seemingly celebrate on the podium. Let's get over to the results. And of course we know our podium finishes already. They were followed by Radiant Slothz, Lando Norris, Sebastian Vettel, Esteban Ocon, Antonio Giovinazzi, Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso. And over in the all-important Drivers' Championship, Lewis Hamilton takes the lead going into the season finale by 5 points ahead of championship rival Sergio Perez and his teammate Max Verstappen. Valtteri Bottas rounds out the top 4, 12 points behind the leader, followed by Radiant Slothz, who is now officially out of the running. They're followed by Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Daniel Ricciardo and Pierre Gasly. Further down the order we have Yuki Tsunoda, Esteban Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Lance Stroll, Antonio Giovinazzi tied with teammate Kimi Raikkonen, and George Russell as the last point scorer, followed by Zhou Guanyu, Nicholas Latifi, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. And it's a winner takes all for the season finale. Mercedes and Red Bull tied on 430 points apiece with one race remaining. Radiant Racing are just a few points ahead of McLaren, who move over to P4 and not far behind are Ferrari in P5. Then we have AlphaTauri, Alpine, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, Williams and finally Haas. We'll catch you next time for the season finale.